I do have some leaders who have said, okay, a team member has said that they are ADHD, for example. What is the best way that we can support and most effectively communicate and engage with someone who, for example, is ADHD and has let others know? As a team member, as a team leader, working with someone who's ADHD, what's helpful for us to know, think, or do?
Mm. Yeah, I do believe we can get to a point where we want to balance asking a person to educate us all the time with genuine curiosity. And I found it really comforting. So I also have type 1 diabetes, and that has been known since I was 12 years old. So for more of my life, I've been introducing myself as a type 1 diabetic. And I had one supervisor that came back from the doctor and she said, I got a pamphlet about type 1 diabetes because I know you have type 1 and I wanted to learn about it. That was so sweet. I
Mm,
loved it.
yeah.
And I can
Uh,
tell you, I mean, we didn't get along all the time, but in that moment, I felt so cared for because she took a little bit of her time to learn something about me. And I'm always happy to talk about any condition that I've disclosed to someone. But at the same time, just saying, how do you want me to learn about it? Or what's a good way to learn this? They'll probably send you a podcast or an article.
just to ask, I think a lot of times people are hesitant to ask because they don't want to come across as too intrusive. Uh,
Hmm.
but even with your story of your boss who went out of her way to get information and share that she's interested in learning, generally speaking, I've never had anybody say, I was mad because someone took an interest in me. You did say something really important, though, whereas you don't want to be in the position of having to educate people, which is exhausting,
Hmm.
versus just responding to their questions out of curiosity. How, what's the advice you can give someone to tread that line carefully? You know what I mean? Again, I think people don't ask because they don't want to make someone feel like now you have to educate me, but then they walk around uninformed because, yeah. Any advice that you have for balancing, helping people balance that line?
Yeah, so it always goes back to asking the question, right? I've had plenty of people that avoid asking me, I'm pulling out a syringe with insulin in it. My first reaction would be, wow, I'm so interested. I'm curious. Why are you doing that? And others, because of their own experience, they say, I would never ask you because it's personal.
Mhm,
It's your world, right?
mhm,
And so a lot of times it's about empowering someone that is neurodivergent to talk in a way that they feel comfortable about it. And maybe a neurodivergent person, that's why I love to work with the community, hasn't been taught that it can be accepted in
mhm,
the workplace.
mhm,
So I I believe a lot in the idea of are you comfortable sharing or do you want to elaborate? I think this would be really cool for the whole team to know.
mhm.
I think one time I did maybe just a 5-minute presentation on myself. That's a great time to add a few things like,
Yeah,
this is what I live with.
yeah. And I just like that idea as sort of like a standard team tradition. Give everybody 5 minutes to share about themselves over the course of the year, right? So it doesn't
Hmm.
feel like any one person is standing out, but again, we're all diverse and we're all different. And actually, it's actually kind of fun and fascinating to get to know your team members. The benefits of embracing and hiring someone who's neurodiverse are.
Yeah. Yeah. And this is unique to different people. I love to point out some more famous people that are neurodivergent, like Warren Buffett, Bill Gates, Elon Musk, and you don't have to agree with everything they do, but we can agree that they solve problems in a unique way.
Mm.
And that's what got them to be where they are. So I do think it's really beautiful to recognize what unique strengths do we have. And maybe a person with ADHD and autism, like myself, has a tendency for hyperfixation. And that means if I like to do something, if I'm given a project that I got a little bit of say on, I will dive all the way in. And yeah, sometimes hyperfixation can be distracting when I have to do work that's not as interesting. But with the right parameters that say 50% of the time you can work on this project that you love, then I'm going to be excited to come into work because I know that I get a chance to find every piece of information on the internet that helps me solve this complex problem.
Yeah. I love that. That is such a great way, I think, to sum all of this up. The reason why diversity matters, of course, we're talking about neurodiversity, but
Mhm.
diversity in general is everyone solves a problem in a unique way. If we have
Mhm.
everyone looking at the problem, the challenge, or the opportunity from the same lens, the same perspective, the same ideas, you're going to get groupthink. But I think it's wonderful that we're broadening our appreciation for the many ways of thinking and working and having not just tolerance, but I think true appreciation for that diversity. It just makes us all better informed, leads to better decision making and better outcomes. So we need no other motivator to embrace neurodiversity and to embrace diversity than it helps us solve our problems better together. So I love
Mhm.